Everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
Hey dudes, welcome back to the bench. Today we're rating more of your guys' graffiti that you sent me over on Instagram on a scale from 1 to 10. And always with these videos, keep in mind that the number isn't meant to be taken 100% to heart. So if you get a low number, don't mind it too much. We all begin there. All you gotta do is keep it simple, practice the basics, and you'll be perfectly fine. So with that, let's get right into this with the very first one that comes to us from Jay. And he specifically says, I've been having some negative space issues, especially with the L. Any tips for that? And then we look at his hand style, and he's gotta keep it simple, practice the basics. Which I've told him in the past, and he hasn't taken the advice at all, so a solid 1 out of 10. Practice the fundamentals, things like letter structure, negative space management, letter name weight, letter name positioning, flow, line, shape, form, value, space, color, texture. This early on, you really want to be keeping it basic print font. And I mean that as literally as humanly possible. You need to focus on your elements of art most of all, because your elements of art are going to raise your potential and your skill level and your knowledge for everything else. The better you become at drawing shapes and the better you become at using lines, the cleaner your letters are going to be. And the cleaner your letters are, well, the easier time you're going to have with negative space, letter structure, and other such things. And this is why I say, keep it simple, practice the basics. Claude here sends a really well done hand style. I'd probably give it like a good 6, 7 out of 10, just because the L is so disproportionately tiny. Now, this isn't entirely a bad thing. I think they could have beefed it up just a little bit, but I do like the smaller aesthetic to the L because it works great to minimize the negative space. However, the right hand side of their name is overbearing. It's got all of its weight on that side. You're dealing with a 5-letter name here, which means that the A is going to act more like an anchor letter, especially in this context, but that also means that the K and the L don't have anything gaining weight on that side. The A very easily could have lent some weight to that side, but seeing as it dips into the descender area, it kind of puts a little bit weight back on the right hand side, which compounds the weight that's already on that side to begin with. So for that reason, we're gonna give this a good 6, maybe 6.5 out of 10. I like it a lot. Also, quick interjection here. I don't know what's going up with Instagram. Some of your guys' photos aren't coming through for some reason. My apologies on that. Don't know what's happening. Here we got a hand style from Pants, P-A-N-T-S. And I gotta be honest here, he only left me a limited amount of times in order to view the image, so I gotta do this from memory. But from memory, his N and his T had a little bit too much style added to it, which ended up letter distorting the two of them to create the letter H, which completely destroys the N and the T. This is more of a negative space management issue. Had he just separated the letters ever so slightly, the H would no longer exist. It's a very simple fix, but it creates a very serious problem. Something that you definitely want to be a little bit more conscious of. Now, they still don't really understand the fundamentals. We can see that in multiple areas. Once again, I'm doing this from memory, my apologies. I can't open the message anymore, but I believe some of the shapes and some of the lines were pretty sloppy, and that extension on the S just is not panning out. So we're gonna give this a 4 or 3 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. It's not terrible, but it definitely needs some improvement. There's also some flow issues with the P not necessarily looking like everything else, so keep that in mind as well. Chris trying to learn his throwies here. Not too bad. Not a bad start. We're gonna give this a good 2 out of 10. I think it's a pretty solid place for an amateur to begin. But you're gonna want to take these letters and move them slightly closer together. Get rid of some of that negative space and round out your edges. Make sure everything is nice and round and practice shapes and lines. Those are some of the most important things that you can do when you're learning throwies to begin with. Alright, this isn't a throwy or a hand style, but it's still pretty dope. I want to share it with you guys. I love the bevel effect, right? This looks pretty cool. And he did a really good job with it, especially shading everything in pen. It gets extra props for me. The hand style, because we were meant to focus on hand styles in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and critique that bad boy, and you gotta keep it simple, practice the basics as far as that tag is concerned. We can see that you did this letter multiple times, and that is just not a good look for a hand style. A hand style is meant to be your signature. It's meant to have that functionality of muscle memory behind it, and this does not scream muscle memory at all, especially since you went for more of a script kind of look here, more of a cursive kind of look. You're supposed to have that momentum to your movements, and there is just none of that present in that hand style. Yo, alright, I like that. That is really good. Look at this man's hand styles, man. They are beautiful. Every single one of them is really well done. Some of these are spelt backwards. So sometimes it'll say N-E-K-A-S, Nikas, and sometimes it'll say Sakin. And each one, I mean, look at this. This is gorgeously done. Oftentimes we see people doing calligraphy, and really all calligraphy is, it's a cheap excuse to do bad calligraphy. In most cases, this is a beautiful example of that type of thing done well. But what's important to note about these hand styles specifically is his ability to infuse some of graffiti's fundamentals alongside calligraphy's fundamentals, and that's an important part. So he does a phenomenal job. This looks beautiful, and better yet, his throwies are gorgeous as well. Very stylized, very abstracted letters, but still maintains letter structure, and it looks amazing. love it. We're gonna give that like a 9 out of 10, both the hand style and the throwies. Shane, love it. I mean, you know, I always say keep it simple, practice the basics. That's exactly what they have here, and it looks beautiful. That right there is a solid hand style. We're gonna give that a good 8 out of 10. I love it. Perfect. All right, I think that pretty much wraps up the video for today. So if you guys want to learn more about graffiti, check out the books we published in the description down below. There are some of the best resources out there for graffiti, hands down. Or if you want tutorials on some of the topics that we talked about today, like throwaway tutorials or some of the fundamentals tutorials, check out the best How to Do Graffiti playlist anywhere online right up here, with more graffiti content right down here on the bottom. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.